Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we have a little Week 5 instant reaction for you guys and go through all the top stories of the day. And I think I'm just going to start it off with Odell Beckham, Jeff. Fracture in his ankle. Looks like a season-ending type injury. And that's going to put a damper on quite a few people's fantasy seasons, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that is one heck of a heavy blow to a team. Obviously, great player. You probably got him in the first round. So, hopefully you have a deep team and you've been picking up waiver wire guys that can help you out. But that is going to be hard to kind of make up for in a week or two.
Yeah, I mean, Odell had a good game going. He had 5 for 97 and a touchdown. But, I mean, he hasn't been dominating like he had been in the past. So I guess you're not replacing a guy that's scoring you 20-plus every week. So if you've been getting by with it, you could have been okay. And I guess coming up, he was going to be at Denver next week, then Seattle, then on a bye. So who knows? Maybe you'll be all right. But man, the rest of that Giants team, I mean, Brandon Marshall's out with an injury now. Sterling Shepard's out with an injury. Dwayne Harris fractured his foot or ankle too. They're down to basically Roger Lewis and maybe Evan Ingram at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the only people you can count on. I mean, I guess this is the question with their passing game in such flux right now and such, desperate need of players. Do you think that this, number one, will help Evan Ingram? And the fact that they only help Guy Lewis, is he going to be worth having on a team? And then the second one is, do you think this helps or hurts the run game? Are they is it forcing their hand to hand the ball off more? And maybe even through just mass carries, they can actually produce fantasy numbers? Or is this just now they can stack the box even more so? And it doesn't matter how talented the guys are, which obviously not that talented, it seems. But, you were hoping to see something out of Gallman and Darkwa. Do you think this just ends their fantasy hopes?
Well, I think this could be good news, I guess, for Evan Ingram. Honestly, I think at this point, if all these injuries are there, they almost have to move him into more of a wide receiver role right now. They can throw somebody else there at tight end. I think it's almost going to be needed to put him at actually just playing wide receiver, which if that's the case and he's getting wide receiver looks, you're going to be able to play him at your tight end spot, and that's a huge bonus. Yeah, I know he got nothing today, but I think going forward, Roger Lewis and Ingram, you're going to throw the ball to Ingram. Lewis, maybe he's a pickup, maybe he's a bye week fill-in, but I wouldn't be too concerned with it. But then again, you're playing Seattle, you're playing Denver, or whatever, Denver then Seattle. It's not going to be good, probably. Then the run game, it started off with Darkwa, then he got hurt after he had a touchdown run, so Gallman came in. Both of those guys actually looked okay. They both looked better than Perkins did, had been in the past. So I don't know. I think at this point, you're gonna stay away from most of this offense until you know what the running game situation is. Except for I think Evan Ingram's your only play.
Yeah, and I like that. It's a safe approach. I already liked Evan Ingram. This was the first bad game he's had. So, and he's a rookie still. So I like what I've seen from him so far, and I've never been a huge guy for this, any running back that they've tried to play. So I don't think it's going to help them at all. I was kind of hoping that maybe one of these guys, now that Perkins was dethroned, if you will, was going to kind of put some sort of, season together. But I think this one just hurts them. I don't think, especially going up against the next two teams, there's no way. But after that even, I'm thinking that they're just going to load the box. And, who knows, maybe Marshall comes back and Sterling Shepard and they get something going. But the way they've been playing, I don't know, it doesn't seem to be the most logical conclusion to jump to.
And how about we talk about some other games other than the Giants? Leonard Fournette, big game for him, 30.4 in standard. He had 181 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, mainly off of a 90-yard touchdown with about 2 minutes left in the game. So that was a only a 15-point play there for you to end the game. He got half his points on one play with 2 minutes left. So that is pretty much garbage time. But hey, he had a solid game before that, but not quite 100 yards. But that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care how he gets the yardage. I mean, even before that, his game would have been fine. But, I mean, man, they just keep feeding him the ball. 28 carries. I mean, that's all you have to say to me. And I know that he's going to produce if you give him that many carries. So no worries about him. He's turning out to be exactly what we thought he was going to be, and that's just an unbelievable workhorse for that Jacksonville team.
And after the way the defense played, you can play that defense pretty much all year. After they got 28 points today against the Steelers.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, and Roethlisberger, I mean, they made him look very bad. What, he had 5 interceptions? Oh my gosh. Yeah,
he's looking like this might be his final season. He was already considering it last year. I think that could be about it for him. Honestly, we could see a big bounce back next week, sure, but that was ugly. I mean, then Bell, 15 for 47. Not the greatest running the ball, but he got 10 catches for 46. So if you're in standard, it's just an okay game. If you're in PPR, it's actually a pretty solid game with the 10 catches. So that's not too bad.
Yeah, it definitely helps boost it.
Then Antonio Brown, who was my pick this week in our little matchup, Jeff. What was it, Brown versus Evans?
Oh, yes.
I got the win this week. But
yep, it was ugly.
Brown was 10 for 157 and 19 targets. That's just ridiculous. I mean, it didn't work out throwing the 5 picks.
Yeah, I know. It's insane. I mean, even when Roethlisberger had such a bad game, Antonio Brown still came out just fine.
Yeah, he just keeps putting up numbers. Melvin Gordon kind of stepped up again. This is kind of the Melvin Gordon we expect to see. 28.3 in standard, 105 yards rushing, 58 yards receiving. We got 2 receiving touchdowns. This is what he was doing last year, so it's nice to see again.
Yeah, and once again, we're talking about how Bell got 10 receptions, and that could really, help your cause if you're in PPR. I mean, this guy, 28 points, and then he still has 6 receptions. So, I mean, in PPR, he's probably the leading running back. So, killing it. And also, I love how his numbers, because of the pass game, obviously attach itself to Phillip Rivers as well. Getting him going, kind of jumping around to another quarterback here, but he's just really helping that whole offense, and it's he's doing it on both sides like he did last year.
Henry got himself another touchdown there too. Hunter Henry
did. Yep.
Not really getting receptions yet, but got the touchdown.
No, yeah, still not a heavy workload, but the guy is just dynamite in the red zone. So he's keeping his fantasy owners happy, but definitely sweating each game out now.
And how about the Packers game? And Aaron Jones stepped in and, looked probably better than Ty Montgomery's ever looked, I would say. 19 carries, 125 yards, and a touchdown?
Yeah, and, what do you make of this guy? This is very interesting because Aaron Jones comes in, Montgomery hurt. They give him 19 carries, which I didn't expect, really, and only one target, which he caught for 9 yards. So he did very well. Was this more of, hey, Dallas wasn't expecting it and he just he picked holes and he did well? Or is this something that we can actually count on happening until Montgomery returns? Did they change up their offense a little bit in order to incorporate a guy that's just a true runner?
Yeah, I was hesitant about this because why was he the third string running back for so long? Why was Jamal Williams ahead of him on the depth chart? If this is how good this guy is, it's strange to me. But he looked good out there. You can't say he didn't. And Dallas, maybe the Dallas defense is just kind of weak. That's part of it. But in Jamal Williams, he had the injury last week, so maybe they didn't want to use him as much. But man, at the very least, once Montgomery's back, this is going to be a committee. I think he was too good to not use. But man, I kind of feel like this could go forward. I feel like this is something that I could see him doing this every week. Just the way he looked good. It wasn't just, not every running back for Green Bay has obviously been doing this. Montgomery's got his points off, mixture of run and pass and get some touchdowns. There wasn't like there's all these major holes all over the place, but Jones just seemed to find running lanes and he looked good.
Yeah, and this is my question to you then. If it goes forward and say it's, a timeshare between him and Montgomery, I mean, the 2 games Aaron Jones has been in, the last 2, obviously. Chicago, he had 13 attempts as well, 49 yards and a TD. Today, 19 attempts for 125 yards and a TD. Obviously, way better this time around, but still same result, got in the end zone. Is his pure running ability and Ty Montgomery's ability to play out of the backfield and do kind of a lot of different things and allow that Green Bay offense to just, stretch a defense thin because they don't know when they're going to throw, when they're going to pass. Is this just going to cannibalize Aaron Jones and Montgomery? Is this going to be better for the football team, or is this actually going to be 2 guys that you can play in fantasy?
Maybe I don't know if you're going to be able to play both of them, but I feel like if Jones keeps this up, they're going to still use Montgomery, obviously. But yeah, they're going to try other ways to use him. The guy was a receiver, obviously, before. But if you look at his numbers running-wise, he's only had 130 yards, maybe 140 yards rushing on the year. And Jones has already pretty much overtaken him this quickly. So I think they'll find ways to use it, but Jones isn't going to go away. So the problem is, I don't think I would feel comfortable playing. I don't think it's going to be, I think Montgomery is going to be the one I don't feel comfortable playing. I know we're making big assumptions here. I am thinking that Montgomery's job's already gone, but I don't think I'd feel comfortable playing Montgomery when he comes back. And now at this point, they're not going to rush Montgomery back either. The way Jones played, there's no reason to throw Montgomery back in there next week.
No, not at all. And especially with a rib injury, you have no idea. I mean, obviously that's a pretty easy injury to upset again. So I think that's a good point. I don't see them rushing Montgomery back. When he does come back, it's going to be very interesting to see how they decide to scheme it out and use him. Because obviously Aaron Rodgers in the red zone is a tremendous quarterback, right? I mean, I would much rather have it in his hands than try to pound it out with Aaron Jones. And obviously that line is not, I guess this year, historically, in the past couple of seasons, have not exactly been the greatest line to run behind. They haven't had to do it much. So I'm wondering if it's going to be, like he's going to be kind of, I don't know, is this a guy that's going to be touchdown dependent? And if you don't give him the red zone attempts, is it just going to be like, hey, maybe he gets you, 5-6 points, and that would be a good game because, he gets 13 carries and he rushes for 60 yards. I have reservations about both of them now that if Montgomery comes back.
That's true, but I would not be surprised now at this point if Montgomery sits the next 2 weeks. They got the bye then after that, and then he finally comes back in week 9. I could definitely see that happening, where Jones is going to get another look.
Yeah, and in that case, Aaron Jones, whoever picked him up in this waiver, he got a heck of a deal. And definitely for the next couple of weeks, he's going to definitely pay dividends. After that, I'm kind of waiting to see. I don't really know what they're going to do, but hey, he looked good. He looked the part. So, I got to assume this guy's got talent, and they're going to try to use him because of it.
I'll just touch on a couple other running backs. Zeke, 29 carries for 116 yards. Kareem Hunt, 29 carries for 107 yards. So those weren't like the most spectacular games, but they're getting all of the carries for their teams, and they're going to make it so they have decent weeks for you, even when they don't get touchdowns and they have a low yards per carry. It's still double-digit points. So they are really, really good.
Yeah. Not a whole lot to say about those guys.
No, you just play them. How about Marlin Mack? I really liked what I saw out of Marlin Mack today. This was nice to see. He came back. He's been injured, so he finally got some action again. 9 carries for 91 yards and a touchdown. And he almost had another touchdown that actually they reversed on him after the fact. But the runs, like he's finding room out of nowhere. Something that, Frank Gore was decent, did his thing like he does all the time. He had 48 yards rushing, 38 yards receiving, 8.6. That's what Frank Gore does. But Marlin Mack showed something that they don't have, and I can see him going forward getting at the very least a split with Gore, and if not, maybe overtaking Gore at some point here. Yeah,
and this is a guy that I would look at. They're looking for him to take over for Gore because, you have to think that this is probably going to be the last year that he's going to be the feature back. Maybe he has one more after this. The guy is a wonder to behold, but, especially if you have a league that you have keepers or, a dynasty, anything like that. Obviously, dynasty, who's probably heavily sought after anyway. But, it's definitely someone like that you can take a look at. I think that you can, if your league hasn't picked him up yet, obviously this guy is going to be a big waiver ad to find out if he's going to steal more and more carries. It was good to see it's still on a bad team, but, hopefully Luck will be back in there and they'll take some of the pressure off the run game. Yeah,
Jeff, don't go looking for him in our league, though. I picked him up last night, on our waiver night. So
Nice.
So you won't be able to find him. All right, some wide receivers. How about AJ Green? Looked pretty good, 7 for 189 touchdown. Not much to say about that. I mean, he's good. And that's what we talked about him even when Cincinnati was having those first 2 weeks down weeks. People were panicking and wanting to trade him. And since then, he's had, in the last 3 games, he's had 22 catches, over 370 yards, 370 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's got 12 points, 17 points, and 22 points, and that's in just standard scoring. So that's why you don't trade people like that. You don't panic too early because he is extremely good.
And I like it too because right now DeAndre Hopkins is going to be the number 1 wide receiver this week. 4 catches for 52 yards and 3 of them were touchdowns. I mean, give me a break. And that was 12 targets too. I mean, oh my gosh, that was a wild game. Deshaun Watson once again goes nuts, but it's in catch-up mode. And I think he threw like 50%. He didn't have that much yardage, but he had 5 touchdowns. I mean, it's pretty wild. And once again, Will Fuller getting into the act after coming back from injury. 2 touchdowns himself, and that's only out of 2 catches and 3 targets. So
yeah, he's had 4 touchdown catches this season in the 2 games he's played on only 6 catches. Just
he doesn't even have 100 yards.
That team's fun to watch with Deshaun Watson, though. It is fun to watch him play, and you just think, I think at the very least you're getting catch up mode points from him. You're starting him going forward. We were hesitant maybe a little bit. We did say to start him this week. We put him in our top 10, but he's a top 10 guy, I think, going forward at this point. How can you say he's not? He has to be.
Yeah. And, one of the things that even I thought is like, hey, their defense is kind of good enough to keep him in a lot of these games. So the catch-up actually does help Watson because they can just let him fling the ball around. And obviously the terrible news, Odell goes down, but also J.J. Watt. And obviously, that doesn't affect too many people, but it definitely affects that defense. So obviously, they're going to have to pick it up on the offensive side of the ball. So I think he's going to continue to kind of play the way he's playing.
Then, yeah, those are the main standout performers of wide receiver, I guess. What about Devontae Adams? Caught 2 touchdowns. Good to see him. Doesn't even miss a game after that hit he took.
Yeah.
In the Thursday night game.
Man, how tough does he look right now? Because that hit was brutal looking. And he comes back and catches 2 touchdowns and the touchdown to pretty much have them go ahead and win the game against Dallas, which that was an exciting game.
Yeah, and it was clear that Rodgers was just looking for Adams there at the end. He didn't seem to be looking anybody else's way at all. Nelson wasn't even in the game there at the end. I'm not even sure what the injury was. I don't even think I've heard yet. I don't even know if they've even announced it. But so he wasn't out there. Without him, it was clearly Adams over Cobb, it looked like to me.
Yeah, and I think Cobb is gonna, who knows what's gonna go with Nelson. I'm sure it seemed like he was okay, but I never know. But it's good for Devontae Adams owners because everyone was getting in on the action. So just to know that, Rodgers still has eyes for Adams, especially in the red zone where he really did his thing last year. That's a huge thing to see.
And then some quarterback talk about Dak Prescott. He has not had a game now this season lower than 19.1, and he's actually just been going up every week. Went 19.1, then 19.9, 26.9, 28.6, and 35.7. He's been, that's really impressive. And I can definitely say I was wrong on him. We ranked him way too low to start the year because he's good. He should have been higher than. I mean, we ranked him lower than Stafford, probably definitely better than them at this point.
Yeah, he has been absolutely wonderful. And, I mean, what does he already have? 11 touchdowns in 5 games or, whatever it is. I think it might be more. I don't even know. Yeah, 11. So now he has a bye week, and then he has, a couple of games, San Francisco and Washington especially, before he hits KC. But this is just, he has better matchups now. I mean, he already went through, a Denver, Arizona team that, usually has a pretty decent secondary, and he kind of weathered those storms. So coming out of this, I think I think you just got to proceed as he's going to keep having these games, and you don't know what's going to happen to Elliott necessarily. Things are still out in the ether as far as what's going to happen to him, and his suspension. And this is also why I've been, talking about if you have the chance, trade for Dez, because once again, he went through all those tough matchups, and now if Dak keeps playing like this and he gets weaker and weaker CBs to go against, it's going to get better and better. I mean, is there any other wide receivers on that team that you actually will look at? I know Beasley had 2 touchdowns today, but is anyone else worthy of a start?
I don't think so, because you just don't know who it's gonna be. I mean, Terrence Williams, Bryce Butler gets some balls. I mean, it's just too much of a mix there. Where Dez is the only one I can start with any kind of confidence. Beasley's not. He's not getting the targets he did last year, so he's just not a start, even with the 2 touchdowns today. Now I'm just sticking with Dez and not even worrying about the rest of them at all. And then, let's see here. Carson Wentz had another good game. 35.3 points. Alex Smith, another 32.9. Maybe we've been low on Smith. That's one guy that I think we just keep expecting him to go back down, but he's not. It continues every single week. I mean, his lowest game on the year is 18.1. When you got players like Russell Wilson got 13 today, and even Brady had a 14. I mean, Alex Smith's he's consistently better every week than that. And maybe we really got to reevaluate where we are ranking him, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree. The quarterbacks really did get kind of tossed up. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has been consistently good. But other than that, you've been getting points from a very weird kind of guys. And, I think the weirdest part, too, is Alex Smith has been doing, fantasy-wise, the best he's ever been doing while having a running back that's having a tremendous year. So they are running the ball, and they're also scoring through the air, which obviously has been one way or the other as far as Alex Smith's career had been going. So either he could throw to Macklin and they couldn't run, or then they would just pound it out, and then he would throw all these little passes and never, actually accrue any touchdowns or yardage. So it's pretty amazing to actually see him, at least fantasy-wise, really, really put it out there and started getting kind of a little bit of the respect he deserves as far as a football player goes.
And then, how about Cam Newton? We gave up on him about 2 weeks ago. And since then, he's had 39 points and 32.2 points.
Well, I mean, it's only 2 weeks, but, I mean, the guy is trying to prove me wrong, and he's doing one hell of a job at it. So now he's going against Philly and then Chicago and Tampa Bay. Can he keep this up? I mean, over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, in each of the last 2 games on the road. I don't know. Are you feeling good about Cam now, or are you still hesitant to pick him up and start him?
I'm a little hesitant, but he's looking really good right now. It's starting, if he gets, I feel like he's one of the players that if he has confidence, it just changes everything. And if he has the confidence like he does now, I mean, and they're 4-1 actually, right? Panthers are 4-1, which surprises me. I think he could be a start going forward. I think I'm not 100% confident in it, but I have a feeling it's going to keep going the way he's been playing. If, he's going to have some down weeks, so it's going to happen. But he's looking good right now. Yeah,
I think he'll probably fall. He'll probably be on that cutoff of starters next week for me. I still want to see it. I think he's a lot riskier than some of these other guys that might jump above him. But I think he has tremendous upside. I think it's going to be kind of feast or famine with him. So, if you're already looking like on your bye week, you're looking like you're going to have a lower scoring week. This is a guy that I would look to and say, hey, I'm already going to be cutting it close. I might as well go for the home run threat. And if this guy scores me 30, I could steal a week. That's kind of the guy that Cam Newton's looking like.
All right, how about some more disappointments for the week? Carlos Hyde, 8 carries for 11 yards. And I thought maybe this was an injury thing, but after the game, Kyle Shanahan said he was just going with the hot hand. It really wasn't an injury. I don't know an injury or not, but Hyde was outsnapped by 10 carries. I don't know what to think about this. This was our biggest fear going into the season, and I thought there was no worries about it. It was all Hyde, but now this happens. It just throws everything for a loop again. I don't know what to think anymore.
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I don't know. He's been doing so well that I'm going to give him a pass on this game, even though they go and they lose to Indianapolis in overtime. Just shows how bad San Fran is, but I don't know how you only give this guy 8 carries. I'd chalk it up to that, I guess. He just, not enough attempts to really get going. But it does, it's just one more thing to worry about for a running back already on a bad team that can get behind.
No, I would hope this. I have a feeling this has more to do with injury than they're going to lead on. But because I just don't see why this changed so quickly this game. Like, what's different when they've been clearly just using Hyde? It doesn't make any sense. So I wouldn't panic yet. Just wait a week or two here, see what's going on. Then Todd Gurley finally had his first down game. Guess we were kind of waiting to see if one of these would happen, and he ends up with 3 points in standard this week because he got a fumble, knocked him down a little bit. But this was our fear with Gurley. If he didn't get the touchdowns, his game, when they play a tougher opponent like Seattle, it's going to be tougher. Now he has Jacksonville and Arizona coming up, both pretty solid defenses. Well, Arizona was a solid defense until Wentz tore him apart today, but I don't know. What do you think about Gurley? Do you think you're going to have a couple more of these games? He's still going to be top 10 for us, but are you slightly worried, or is this just Seattle?
No, for me, this is Seattle. I mean, you're on a bad team for the Rams. I know that he's going to have tougher games, but we've talked about this. Like, even today, if he didn't have the fumble, say, 43 yards, not the end of the world. He's, he will get you big games. He will have a few down ones. Every player does. So I don't think this is anything to worry about. He's done wonderful so far this season. I think this is just reaffirming my fear about their pass game moving forward, going against better and better competition. And, obviously what seems like just outright hatred for Watkins. But, it's coming true. I mean, Woods did okay, and Higbee, wherever he came from. But other than that, that the offense just struggled.
Yeah, Sammy Watkins. I didn't even want to talk about him today. I'm hoping that people listening forget that I've talked about Sammy Watkins ever in the past.
Well, he did. I mean, he did have a big game, and he did okay for a while. But it's just he's about to hit up a bunch of really good defenses, so the guy's gonna struggle, I assume.
Yeah, he had that big game, and then since that big game, he's had like one catch. This has just been brutal. And oh man, I don't know what to think. And I might be forced into starting him, Jeff, in our league now with Odell's injury.
I was gonna say. And I'm a big, I don't want to call myself a hater. I do have him. Like, I love the talent. I just don't like his position. Obviously, I keep saying that because he's so good. He's going to make me feel dumb eventually. Again, I should say. But I was forced to play him this week in a dynasty with all the buys and everything going on. And it was one of those things where I was like, do I play someone that might get 1 or 2 catches, or do I play a guy that can, potentially put up one big play and score all his points? And he throws up a big old donut for me, and I could have played someone that got a few points at least. But it's the risk you run when you run with a guy that talented on such a young offense. I'll put it that way.
One of the guy we haven't really talked too much about this season is Doug Baldwin, and he had one good game week 3 where he had 16.5 points, 105 yards receiving, and a touchdown. But his other 4 games, he has no touchdowns. He's a 63-yard game, a 44-yard game, a 37-yard game, and a 35-yard game. Is that something to worry about? we ranked him, he was top 15, top 12, probably closer to top 10. And that's pretty disappointing 4 out of 5 games so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, on him, yeah, I am worried. I don't believe in that offense consistently, and obviously everyone that listens knows that. And Russell Wilson, when he went against bad opponents, he ripped them apart for the most part. But now he's on a bye, and then he's about to hit the Giants, Houston, Washington, Arizona. Nothing crazy, but definitely not the San Francisco, Tennessee, Indianapolis, trio that he just played pretty much. So I think Baldwin, I don't think he's going to be the fantasy, darling that he's been in the past few years. I just don't think that I just don't think it's going to work out for him. You know what I mean? Everyone kind of knows he's the go-to there. Everyone knows they can really rush Russell this season. It's just shaping up to be kind of a grind him out. Hopefully I get 50 yards kind of deal. And the truth is, even as well as he's done in the past, I don't know how much clout he carries in trading. I mean, you wonder how much you can actually get for the guy.
Yeah, not much probably, honestly. I wouldn't want to trade for him right now. Sometimes the Seattle offense gets going later in the year, but that happened last year, I think, because Russell Wilson was just coming back from injury and he was getting healthy. He's healthy now. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they have no run game right now. And nobody got it going today. Lacey didn't, Rawls didn't, nothing's going on there. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm a little worried about it. I really am. Just about the offense in general. Yeah, they had a couple good games, but some of that was just catch-up mode for Russell Wilson. So I'd be a little hesitant. All right, Jeff, I got good numbers for you here. How does, 13 catches for 108 yards and a touchdown sound to you?
Well, that sounds really, really good.
What if it's over 5 games?
I would take him out behind the woodshed and throw him to the waivers.
So that's what you're saying to do to Amari Cooper, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. He has been the biggest. I'm trying to think if there's anyone. No, he has been the biggest disappointment this fantasy season, without a doubt to me. And there's no reason he should have that poor of numbers, and he keeps having them.
No, these are his last 3 games. 1 catch for 6 yards, 2 catches for 9 yards, 1 catch for 8 yards.
Oh my God. I mean, it's so bad. It's so bad it almost seems like you want to look for a reason, but there is none. It's just he's playing that poorly. This is my question to you, Craig, because obviously we talked about it. He was having a bad season, and we're like, yeah, if you can get him for like a really low price, I would absolutely snatch him up, and then hopefully he turns it around and you get a deal. Are you getting to the point where you're so worried you're not even looking for that, or would you still go for that deal?
I mean,
I think that size says it all.
I'm trying
you just don't know what is going on with the kid.
I don't even know. I'm trying to think, what would I trade right now for Amari Cooper? I mean, I took a flyer on Corey Clement and threw him on the end of my bench this week to see what would happen, and he didn't do much. So I'd trade Corey Clement for him. I mean,
that's an endorsement.
I don't even know what to think. I mean, I still wouldn't mind putting him on my bench if I got him for nothing. Like, if somebody did release him, I would pick him up, but I wouldn't spend a lot, but I'd pick him up and put him on the end of my bench because he's too good. This is ridiculous. I don't know what to think about this.
It's so bad. So you wouldn't trade anything for him, but you would pick him up if someone dropped him.
Yeah, I would pick him up if someone dropped him. And me, it would have to be I don't even know what I'd feel comfortable trading for him. That's how bad it's gotten.
And the worst part is, like, it's not like other people are struggling as well. Like, today, Crabtree, 6 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown. Like, he had 2 bad games, but other than that, he's been doing fine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, 3 of the 5 games, he had 6 catches for about 80 yards and 4 touchdowns in those. And then 2 other games against Denver, one of them he just zeroed out. And then the other in Washington, he had 1 catch. So he's not struggling like Amari is. So, makes
no sense.
If you have Amari Cooper on your team, seriously, what are you trying to do with him right now? Are you just putting him on your bench and hope he turns around? Are you actually consider dropping him?
I would just, at this point, I'm probably throwing him on my bench and just waiting to see what happens, because I feel like I wouldn't get any value from him in a trade. And I still think he's too valuable to release. He's maybe not too valuable. He's too talented to release. Because I think he's talented, but 13 catches on the year. He has 7 drops. And now he's down to only 2 targets today. And it's not like they're going against some great defense. Last week we knew it was going to be tough against Denver, but Baltimore's just been okay. They're nothing special. It's just I don't even know what to think about this.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to believe, I would say, at this point in the season. If I had Amari Cooper on my team at the beginning of the year, I would seriously think, he could stay on my bench for the foreseeable future. But that's exactly where he's at. I don't feel comfortable starting that guy. There's waiver pickups I would much rather put in my lineup.
Yeah, I mean, him and Sammy Watkins. Can you imagine if that's your 2 receivers? That was your 1 and 2.
Yeah, it's like the most most talented wide receiving core that won't score you any points.
Yeah, I'm dumbfounded on what to think about this. I mean, I don't even know. I would probably trade like Jeremy Maclin for him, because I don't think Macklin's much of anything right now. That's about it. I would trade a guy that you trade a guy that you might consider cutting from your team. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rough. Oh man, it's a rough one. I'm gonna have to actually sit down and think about that one, and also at this point, luckily he is kind of a name, so you probably will get people that would be willing to trade with you, unlike the Baldwin situation, which for some reason just how mass psychology works, Cooper's a name and Baldwin's not for some reason, but I think you can still get something for Cooper, and I would seriously consider it.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a team out there that has Cooper as their wide receiver 1, Sammy Watkins their wide receiver 2, and Martavis Bryant was their wide receiver 3. And it's a very likely lineup. It really is. And Bryant, he has week 2, he had the 1 touchdown. And other than that, he's done nothing. I mean, he's completely boomer bust, where he doesn't get you anything unless he gets you one of those big plays. I mean, he's been just disappointing. I mean, on the year, he has 15 catches on the year. So he's a little better than Amari Cooper in that way, but he has closer to 200 yards. But that's in 5 games. I mean, just all around, that's disappointing too. And that was my big hesitation with Bryant. And I don't think, could you find yourself in a situation where Martavis Bryant's going to be in your starting lineup? I mean, unless it's bye weeks.
Oh, I was going to say bye weeks. Yeah, sure. I mean, I could see him being a wide receiver 3, a flex possibly. But I mean, obviously the way the offense has been kind of going with Roethlisberger struggling, Martavis Bryant not really getting anything going, he's definitely very, very risky. And I would hope that I wouldn't have to put him in. I guess I would put it like that. I'm hoping I don't have to play him, because that means that, my team is doing pretty good. But, he's one of those guys, dear God, if he's more than a wide receiver 3 for you, you're going to be in very much trouble. But he is a guy that, week to week, he could put up numbers still. And this is why, hopefully you didn't draft him as a, wide receiver 1 or 2. But he's just going to be up and down, and right now he's just down. But I can see him bouncing back. He's just that big play threat.
All right, I think we'll finish up the episode here just talking about a couple tight ends. How about here are the top 3 tight ends in standard scoring for the week. It's Ed Dixon, Darren Fells, and George Kittle, just like we ranked them. Just like we ranked him, Jeff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what is happening right now?
And even 4th is Cameron Brate, who we ranked higher this week, but still as a 4th, maybe not. But then you got Ertz, who did his usual thing, looked good. Hunter Henry, we talked about, got the touchdown. Travis Kelce was looking great in the first half. He only played 1 half. In that half, he had 8 catches for 98 yards off 11 targets before he went out with a concussion. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty impressive. So hopefully he's back and ready to go, and hopefully there's nothing that's going to linger, but he's clearly the go-to receiver on that team right now.
Oh, I mean, what a beast. I mean, that guy is awesome to have, especially if it's PPR, but, he might be the person, he could start being the number one ranked tight end. I know that Gronk is always around and looming, but Kelce is just way more bankable. I mean, when he's playing and he's in there, he's going to put up some, great numbers, and he's not, beholden to having touchdowns. It doesn't really matter. He'll be in the top 10 even without catching one.
And then, he was 8th for the week. This is just how ugly this position is. Well, after Kelce, it was Tyler Higbee, but then Jimmy Graham, so that's decent. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, okay, not bad. But then Phillips Supernaw, Trey Burton, Steven Anderson, and Nick O'Leary were the next in line for this week to round out the top 15.
Household names. Just household names all the way down the list.
And then after them was finally Martellus Bennett, Jason Witten. But then you got Tyler Kroft and Eric Tomlinson before you find Charles Clay and Delaney Walker. So we love the tight end position. This is just brutal. I mean, and then, yeah. And hopefully Kelsey's not out for any time, because then it really gets even worse.
Yeah, I mean, if he's out, it really does. I mean, obviously Gronk didn't play this week either, but, you get to a point where Ertz is by far your best option. Like, Ertz starts being number one, and then after that, it is just it really is. It's just a melee for who has a good matchup and who you think is going to catch a touchdown. All
right, I think that's about does it. Oh, actually, how about a little Scott Fishbowl update here, Jeff?
Oh, yeah, hit me.
We're trying to go to 4-1 this week. We are in a little bit of a battle. We are currently down by 4.2 points going into Monday night. 4.2 point deficit. We have Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen going against Latavius Murray and Adam Thielen. What do you think our chances are?
Ooh, I've never been rooting against the Vikings so badly in my life. I like our chances. It's kind of funny too. Of course, it's poetic that we have to find out how good Latavius Murray is going to be to try to get to 4-1. I'm hoping he's not as good as Dalvin Cook, which, all signs point to he's not. But Thielen has been putting up solid numbers, so I think it's going to be a tight battle.
And yes, we do. If you listen, yes, we do. We are starting 2 Chicago Bear running backs, so that's not the greatest thing in the world, but hey, we'll take it. And actually, the team we're playing right now they are the first place 4-0 team. So
I was going to say, if it gets us to 4-1, then go Chicago.
Hey, we'll do it. But I think that'll wrap it up for this show. We'll be back. I'd say tomorrow, but this is coming out really early, so it'll be a little bit here. Tuesday we'll be back with the waiver edition of the show, which, not as exciting as last week's, I don't believe, but there's still some ads out there. Probably, I don't know, Aaron Jones probably still out there, Marlin Mack, at least a couple guys to go after. But I think that'll do it. We'll talk to you guys then.